but I ended up running Newmont South American operations and getting out of the exploration and business development portfolio. Newmont was actively looking for acquisitions. There was a view at the time that gold prices below $300 an ounce were unsustainable, that if you were ever going to acquire anything, that would be a good time to do it. And as it turned out, Normandy was stuck in a kind of a problem of their own. Robert de Crespigny had acquired and put together a lot of disparate assets that he'd acquired from other people in Australia, including ownership of the Midas mine in Nevada, as part of what he saw as being the need for Normandy to grow beyond its Australian roots. Did some work in Turkey. Normandy did. They had some assets there. They acquired some assets from the BRGM in France, where BRGM had operating assets in West Africa. But they were never going to get growth beyond the Australian spectrum unless they went somewhere else. So Newmont and Normandy had peripheral talks. And it was interesting because Pierre Lassonde was on the Normandy board. And of course he'd been part of Euro Nevada and Franco Nevada, so Newmont knew Pierre as well. The individual Normandy assets were not of themselves sufficiently attractive, but the collection of them were, if there was ever a way that they were ever going to come as a package. So Newmont was clearly interested, but the opportunity to put it together really relied on a third party to make it happen. And at that stage, Euro Franco, I think, were the vendors of the Midas operation that Normandy got a piece of, and in return Euro had a slice, I think they had 20% of Normandy. Anglogold, of course, not surprisingly, we're looking at the same time for the same kind of acquisition opportunity. And I can't remember whether Anglo made the first move or Newmont did, but anyway, there was a period at the end of 2001, for 3 months at the end of 2001, where one company made an offer to Normandy for the assets and the other company countered, and there was a tit-for-tat activity. And it was brokered largely by Pierre, who could see that Newmont had the capacity to not only acquire the Normandy assets, but to run them successfully. And the Normandy piece, the Franco Nevada piece, the 20% in the middle, was the bit that made all three of these components attractive and doable. There was a bidding war between Anglogold and Newmont. At the time, there were people that said the price is ridiculous, you can't justify it on current gold prices, which you couldn't, but nobody thought the current gold prices would stay where they were, and ultimately Newmont won the bidding war when Anglo presumably thought the price had gone beyond their pocket. And of course, then the question was, when Newmont was a successful bidder, who's going to run it? And we had a guy who we had always thought would be the new chief executive of the Normandy assets should the deal go ahead.
Which would be Newmont Australia, in effect.
It became Newmont Australia. Yeah. But for a variety of reasons, he elected not to take the manager's role that was offered. And after years in Newmont's corporate office trying to get Newmont interested in Australia, I eventually was asked to come out of Peru and to come down to Adelaide. And
so were you based in Peru at that time?
I was based in Lima, yeah.
Yeah.
When the time came to go back in the field, it wasn't a case of commuting from the corporate office. It was a matter of going back, or going out into the field and living on the job. So I lived in Lima. And then at fairly short notice, Linda and I relocated from Lima to Adelaide, because for the first 6 weeks after the acquisition of Normandy was consummated, nobody was running it. which when you think that Newmont had spent $4.5 billion to buy the Normandy assets, there was a bit of scrambling around at the last minute to decide who was actually going to... Anyway, that was me. And
was Adelaide chosen because that's where Normandy's...
Yes, Normandy's head office was there. It was a logical place to be. They had 200 and something people in the office because they supported a lot of their mine sites with back office functions in Adelaide. So my job was to integrate the Normandy assets into Newmont's global family of operations, and I went off to Adelaide in 2002 on a 3-year assignment to do it.